Hello there friends, Steve Turgoose here. You know me, I come for walks in the woods. I like to walk around. Sometimes when I'm walking, I'm so deep in conversation with the camera or with myself even, in a dialogue in my mind. Talking to myself, talking to you, not looking around me too much, not seeing what's around me, but just concentrating on you. And so then after maybe half an hour of walking, I look around me and I think it's unfamiliar. I'm lost. I don't know where I am. And I suddenly think, oh no, where do I go? Where am I? And so what I do is I turn around, and head back the opposite way. Thing is, you have to know which way you was walking when you got lost to turn around. So, it can be quite daunting. But when you turn around and you walk back, you go back to find something familiar, a sign, a rock, a piece of grass, a track or something, a trail that you recognise, or people or life. So you head back. As soon as you're lost, you head back the way you came to find where you are. Now the other day I was walking with a friend and we was walking down the path. And some walkers, a woman walking, stopped and asked her if we'd seen an old man who'd gone wandering in the woods and got lost. We didn't see him and we carried on walking, and then another woman stopped and asked us, have you seen a man in the woods? There's a group of people and they're missing him, he's lost. So I thought, I know the area, I know the woods, I'll take my knapsack and go out into the woods. I've got a little bit of water with me and some chocolate, and I walk into the woods and I think, where could he have got lost? So I begin to leave my own trail, leave the place where I'm familiar, and try to put myself in his position. Where would he be? Where would he lose himself? And so I walked to this place and I thought, I've been walking far enough, I can't find him. Maybe he's already found his way home. So I begin to turn back in the direction I think I came from. And I'm walking towards a place that's familiar, a ruin, an old castle ruin, a wall. And as I walk up to the wall, I see my friend, and I'm all alone this time, and I see my friend waving at the top of the castle, and I run up to the top of the castle in happiness that he's waiting for me, and suddenly I realise it's not him, it's just a tree, an old tree in the wind, and it was just an optical illusion, it was just my excitement. But then that taken away from me, I realised that the castle wall wasn't the same castle that I remember. I've walked around this forest somehow and found another castle, and now I've mistaken it for the other one, and it's totally unfamiliar, and I don't know which direction is home. I don't know which direction I've walked because I've overwhelmed myself. Now I've got, if I walk for maybe 10 kilometres I can find a village or a road anyway, I know this, so I'm not in a life and death situation. And I've got water and an umbrella and things like that, and I've got fire lighting equipment so I can keep myself warm and even stay overnight. But the same time, that feeling of being totally disorientated, not knowing where I am, lost, having the entire existence removed from me, was the most scary feeling that I could imagine. All I wanted to do was find my way home. I just wanted to run in any direction. I could feel my legs, and I'm an experienced, brave person. I know how to survive in the woods, so it's not so scary, and I know how to navigate. But even then, the overwhelming feeling of being lost, disorientated, away from anything familiar, that was so overwhelming that I had to force myself to sit down, and I drew a map. And I got my bearings and tried to imagine where I was on the map. But because I was so in a panic, my mind didn't want to imagine it was a bird and look over the situation. It wanted to stay fixed here and go home now. My mind didn't want to wander off anymore. It wanted to stay right here and find a direction. I didn't even want to look at the floor because I felt already lost enough. So I needed to look. And that became a panic because there's no signs, there's no way of knowing. I realised that the two disturbing feelings that I've ever felt was, one, not knowing which direction I'm facing, not knowing the direction I'm in, not knowing left from right, not knowing the orientation. And the other is losing the familiarity. Everything that you recognise is gone, and now you don't know. And so this can happen even in a foreign city. You'd be in the middle of a city and you feel lost, unable to communicate, orienteringslos. You haven't got any sense of direction. And so this answered my question I'd often seen people for years, especially people who turn to drugs and alcohol and things, and the life goes downhill. Find themselves stuck in a hole, a dark hole, and the only thing that kind of gives it direction is the drug or the alcohol. And I always wondered why, in such a beautiful world where there's so much to have fun about and so much to laugh about and so much around and so much abundance, how someone can find themselves in such a depressing and life-threatening situation when just behind the eyes is so much joy. Just couldn't understand it until at that point where I'd lost direction and I'd lost familiarity, and I realised I had no existence without those two. But because we never have a direction in life, we're always kind of familiar with the world. We're familiarised with the world. It tells us what we do, and we try to please it. So we base our entire orientation on society and the map. We move around on this map as if it's a real place, but then when we're outside, away from that society that we're used to, then the signs mean nothing. And I think in a situation like these days, a lot of people, they've changed direction and thus left what was familiar. They've left the family. You've left your family in the state of mind without realising it. You're away from your family and feeling disconnected because you're away from what's familiar. And without direction, everything is gone. But with direction, even if you know you're in a place that's unfamiliar, strange, unknown, untrodden by you, you know that if you have direction, then you are home, and that you will find what is at the end of that direction, what has always been there. In a way, we all set out. We find that the life we lead in is not fulfilling. So we choose a direction, and in that direction, we leave the world behind almost. And people see us there, just like normal, but we feel like we're not here. We feel like we're somewhere else, in the wilderness of our imagination, trying to build a new world or trying to fathom out the old one. And sometimes, when you're lost, but you have direction, you're not really lost. But those who are lost can take you, can follow your direction. If I see somebody walking through the woods and I'm lost, I will go to them. Because it's better two people going in a direction that seems to make sense than people walking around in circles like I was on that hill, alone. If I'd have been with somebody else, we could have been calm. We could have kept each other calm. But so often there's an argument then, There's an argument which direction we should go or what we should do, and if we argue about what we should do in a survival situation, then we all perish. And this survival situation is become like an inner realm inside each one of us, and we all feel so alone in that inside realm. But that's where life takes place. It takes place inside of you, in your heart, in your mind, in your soul, in your gut, in your body. But it's all about the way you feel. And so, if you was lost, and you're lost with another child, with your child or a child, then it's maybe better to keep calm for the child and to make the child understand that there's always something to find. Because the worst thing to do in that situation is to make the child scared. Being scared, being suspicious, or being overwhelmed by a situation definitely takes away the overview. Takes away the ability to see through spans of time. Takes away the ability to see something neutrally without it being right or wrong, good or bad, true or false. To see that things don't depend on our conclusion of the thing, but the way we deal with the thing. So sometimes it's better not to have a conclusion about a thing, because it needs to be dealt with. We've all made our conclusion on a lot of things, but everyone's conclusion is different, and now we argue over the conclusions when there is no conclusion. It's about finding direction. It's about becoming a family. It's about me being familiar to you so that you can find direction in me. If I'm the only thing that's walking through this forest, then I'll give you direction. And if that direction is that we build a base here, make a fire and make ourselves comfortable for long enough until we have an answer, then that's what we do. This is a work in the making. Life is a work in the making. There's no status, there's no conclusion. Even when we come to conclusions, even when we reach a status or a standard in our lives, that status will be taken away again and again and again, and we will always find ourselves lost in the dark. You know? A lot of the times I try to carry a compass around with me, because then I know which way's north. If I've not got a compass, you can look at trees, you can look at the stars, you can look at the sun. And there's the morning star, which comes up in the morning, and you know it's in the east. And that's right, that's your right. So when your right is east, and you're facing north, and the sun in the south is casting a shadow, your shadow, because you are the light, you are the one that's reading that shadow to see your direction. You are the one guessing the turn of the world, to estimate the time, to estimate the direction. Times and directions, the instruments of maps. And the society is like a map. But the map only works when you're holding it to the north, when north is at the top. When you start turning the map, the land becomes unfamiliar. We're all so familiar with our towns and villages and streets and roads and rivers and lands and countries and continents, but you turn the map upside down and you soon have troubles to orientate yourself on a map. And we lose ourselves on that world. And if you know from like navigating in a car, do you turn the map or do you turn your mind? Do you see it like a bird looking above, the bird's eye view, a state of mind on that map, always facing north? Or are you turning in the map the direction you're walking and confusing your bearings? To understand that sometimes when other people are suffering and showing signs of being lost or in distress or angry, it's usually the times when something familiar, either likable or dislikable, is there or gone. Or when the direction seems to have changed. And often when we just lose our direction because somebody takes away from us a valid sign, and we've been holding on to that sign as some kind of direction, and somebody comes along and takes away that sign, we get angry with that person. But the world isn't a map. The world, it's about finding, there's nothing to aim for other than the direction, the right direction. And so there's nothing to achieve in the sense that it will just achieve itself. Of course we have ideas and aspirations, plans and projections and schemes and these types of things, but I am always the centre. I am always the centre, and I can't escape that. I cannot escape that. And so I should learn to face north. I should learn to read the signs and become familiar with the new world. A new world of friends and trust and love, and where people are not rejected because they're just angry. People are not rejected because they won't speak. People are not rejected because they seem to have hidden agendas or some strange method of doing things. I refuse to reject anybody. I refuse to reject you. And I refuse to be your enemy. And so with that level of familiarity and that level of direction, there's no reason to be lost. Compass. Compass. See you later. Thanks for watching. Cheerio.